I'm Steve Wells.
And I'm Jeffrey Feldberg. Welcome to the Sell My Business podcast.
This podcast is brought to you by the Deep Wealth Experience. When it comes to your liquidity event or exit, do you know how to maximize the value of your business? You have one chance to get it right, and you better make it count. Most business owners believe that business value is determined during the liquidity event. Unfortunately, most business owners are wrong. Your enterprise value is a direct result of the depth and quality of your preparation. Who are we and how do we know? We're the 9-figure exit guys. We said no to a 7-figure offer based on 3 times EBITDA. 2 years later, we said yes to a 9-figure offer based on 13 times EBITDA. Despite having the same people, the same company, the same services, we increased our business value 10 times. How did we do this? We spent millions of dollars and years of time to uncover strategies that level the playing field. The end result is the 12-week Deep Wealth Experience. We've created a proprietary solution that is relentless, resilient, and gets results. Learn how to master the art and science of a liquidity event. We've leveraged the same strategies that took us from 7 figures to 9 figures. The Deep Wealth Experience levels the playing field so you can dominate and win. Book your free call today to find out if you have what it takes for the Deep Wealth Experience. Visit www.deepwealth.com/success to book your free call. That's www.deepwealth.com/success. Welcome to episode number 35 of the Sell My Business podcast. Jeffrey, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, hey, Steve. Hi, everyone. Great to be back again. Steve and I, we've been busy the past while. We've been speaking at virtual conferences. We've been speaking to a number of business owners out there. We've been reading the press, and everything seems to be coming back to this one topic today that we're going to be talking about of our 9-step roadmap. It's step number 5, and it's what we call in a Deep Wealth Experience, a winning mindset, the kind of mindset that you need to help you get across the finish line with your deal. So Steve, I know we were offline talking about what is this mindset, what do you have to do, and what's involved with it. Why don't you kick things off with the first step of creating a winning mindset?
It's so important when you are going through this process that you prepare your mind. And it sounds funny in a situation where everyone's looking at numbers and data, but so much that happens in our world, it depends on your mind, your attitude, and your preparation for the process that's going to help you win at the end. We prepare the best we can, but something's going to happen. There's going to be something that is completely unexpected that's going to come out of left field. And you're going to have to deal with that. I know when we were going through our process and selling our business, we thought we had everything wrapped up. And all of a sudden, we had a major personnel change, one of our key people. It could have been devastating. So while we could not have predicted that event, we were prepared for the unprepared, for the unexpected. So that would be something we'd really want you to consider as you go through this process.
It's almost counterintuitive when you think about it. I love this expression when it comes to negotiations, and the expression goes something like this: the person that cares the least is the one who wins the negotiation. And by no means are we saying not to care about your liquidity event. As we all know, for most business owners, this will be the single most important decision of your business career that you're going to be doing for the liquidity event. But Steve, something interesting happened to us when we said no to our 7-figure offer, that unsolicited one, and we said yes to diving into this crazy and wacky world called mergers and acquisitions. I'm not quite sure where it happened along the way, and we were developing this 9-step roadmap of how to prepare. But for our mindset, we just came out with the attitude, if you remember, we have this incredible, thriving, profitable company. And if we chose to, we could keep it forever, or maybe we choose to sell it tomorrow. And either one was a really good situation to be in. We didn't really talk about it much at the time as we were going through it. If it doesn't work out, my fallback is we're going to keep on running this incredible, profitable, successful company that's changing lives. How does that resonate with you when you think back to that event and the process?
Yeah, we look at it at hindsight now, so we have clarity and we see that attitude is what helped us through it. I know we've spoken to hundreds and hundreds of investment bankers and brokers, and I don't think we've ever spoken to one that did not have a horror story about a seller who gets to the very end of the process and gets cold feet and backs out. And they lost the deal, maybe forever, or they'll never recoup that deal that they could have had. But what happened in these cases is their mindset. They didn't think through what they would feel like if the deal did go through and they weren't going to have a company and their identity was wrapped up into it. The same thing they would need to be prepared for if it didn't go through. What does that mean? That means they got to jump back into running their company. What you're saying is really important. So it's right. It's not being lazy in thinking. It's not being laissez-faire, but it is being prepared for the unexpected and then be prepared to deal with that.
And it really goes back to what we've said from the beginning. And I know, speaking for myself, when we went into our liquidity event, my belief at that time was that the value for our business would be determined from the liquidity event process itself. And having gone through our journey, I now know I couldn't have been more off base. Simply speaking, I was wrong, because the value of your business is really determined from the depth and the quality of the preparation that you do to get you to the liquidity event. And so from that perspective, looking back at this now, and it's easy for us to say because we've been through it, there is a feeling of, okay, I've done the best that I can. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And so I know for us, Steve, as we were entering the liquidity event, all the work that we'd put into it in those 2 years, the preparation, at least for me, gave me a sense of peace, a sense of calm, and saying, okay, we don't know what we don't know. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Let's assume that something's going to happen. We don't know what that's going to be. And when it does happen, we'll figure it out. Our confidence in ourselves, in our business, and the preparation that we had done. So that's really what I think of as we look to the start of how do you create a winning liquidity event mindset.
Absolutely, Jeffrey. Absolutely. I agree with what you're saying. Now, second point of what we cover in the winning mindset is how to communicate through this process. How do you communicate that's going to give you success? Now, there are quite a few points in here that we really can't go over all of them, but let's start with a couple. And these are some areas that we were not successful in. We didn't communicate properly here. And a couple of them were our employees and our customers, really more their customers. When we look back at it, we were caught up in what the organization that was purchasing us did, and they didn't really want us to contact the customer, and we didn't really do that. When we look back at it, we regret some of that. We could have made things better, I think, for our customers had we had been clear with what was going to happen and we weren't going to be around. You need to think about those key customers that you're going to have to bring into the discussion because your future buyer or partner is going to want to talk to those. And so it's a very delicate balance in getting them prepared for those conversations and being honest with them, not scaring them at the same time. And along this communication is the time to look at any contracts you might have, because if you've gone through your due diligence section for yourself and building your data room, you may have found that your customer contracts were irregular. Some of them may not have given you the ability to assign that client over to a new buyer. So this is a time to really get nitty gritty in some of that information so you can communicate and get those things shored up before you get to the end of this sales process. And that could be a big stumbling block. What else, Jeffrey?
I'm just thinking about many of the business owners that we've interviewed on the Sell My Business podcast. I can't think of one who has said, hey, I just hit that out of the park. I knew what to say and when to say it. And with the interviews that we've done, I've heard our fellow business owners really struggle. They're looking back, I think I spoke too soon, or maybe I spoke too late, or maybe I didn't say enough. And it's something that we really took to heart when we put our 9-step roadmap together. Failure more than success has been my biggest teacher. And yes, success is nice and it feels great, but it's been the failure where I've learned the most from the failures that have happened over the past. Here's the mindset that you really need to think about now, because your future buyer or your future investor, they have their own agenda, and their agenda, as it should be, is to protect their investment. And they don't want you doing anything to rock the boat. They want to have this transition to be as seamless as possible to your customers who are paying the bills and keeping this moving forward. And from their perspective, That's terrific. But from your perspective, that may have some conflicts there. When you think about it, it's your customers who believed in you when nobody else would, particularly your early customers. And so now it becomes a balancing act, a juggling act. You've made some reps and warranties about the sale of your business, but you've also made some unspoken reps and warranties to your customers along the way. So what do you do and how do you deal with that? And that's one of the things in the Deep Wealth experience that we focus on is how you do communicate and what you can say. And ultimately, it comes back to the mindset of knowing how to position things and knowing when to include the different stakeholders in your liquidity event, stakeholders being your employees, your leadership team, your customers, to name a few, of when to include them and what to say. And that's something I know, Steve, that we go into a lot of detail in with the Deep Wealth experience of how you should be positioning yourself. But as we look to the mindset of point number 2 of how to communicate your way to success. Steve, when you look back at your experience and what we went through, what words of wisdom, in addition to what you've already shared, would you put out there for our listeners?
I think it's preparation. So you've got to think about those people in your customer base and also in your employee base. And they're going to be different levels. They're going to be different people who have different information. And so make a plan and then stick to that plan. It's not going to be easy, but you're going to be much better off if you've thought your way through how you're going to say this and who you're going to say this to and what information they're going to receive. Now, we didn't do everything bad. Obviously, we sold the business and we did pretty well at that. So one of the areas that we were successful, I think, was how we communicated to our buyer. Do you want to talk more about that?
Well, I am going to toot our own horn. And when it came to the mindset of communicating to the buyer, I'm giving us high marks, Steve. I think we really did well. And it's interesting because what we're going to talk about here of the mindset of communication for your buyer, we really figured out in terms of our buyer, what they were looking for and what we needed to communicate and how we needed to communicate that with. As an example, we took a look at some of our initiatives and we were very honest about it. And we said, listen, we didn't hit a home run with these initiatives. Maybe we didn't even get on base with some of these initiatives. It wasn't that the initiative itself was wrong. It was simply that we didn't have enough time, or perhaps there wasn't enough capital, or perhaps we didn't have enough skill set on the bench to help us get that going. But instead of overlooking that or trying to hide that under the rug like it didn't happen, we communicated that in a way to the buyer that resonated. And our communication and our mindset was, listen, we have an incredible company and our solution is over the top. We are best of class. We are world class with what we're doing. Here's a few areas that we haven't yet had the ability to fully implement from a time or skill set or capital side of things. And Steve, if you remember, that really resonated with the buyer, who then was able to pick up from where we left off and run with that. And in a very nice way, it dovetailed with increasing the value of our business.
Yeah, you think about almost every kind of buyer, they want an upside. So they want to see the runway that you've come from, but they want to see the runway where you're going. And they want to see things that are going to increase the value from the day they purchase or the day they partner with you in that business. So it's important to show them that these things are out there and they exist, but they weren't able to be realized out of many things. It could have been capital, it could have been skill set, it could have been, it's just early on and we haven't had time yet to get there. So it's important to give them that perspective because they're going to need that. We were just speaking yesterday with an investment banker and they're talking about of all the buyers that come to them, they almost all have the same request. One of them is just this point. They want to be able to buy a company that has an upside to it, that they haven't realized or haven't captured all the things that they're going to need to capture out of that company. And this is where you come into the picture too, whether you're sticking around or not sticking around. And in our case, honestly, we had a skill set from zero to where we got our company, and our buyers, all of them that we were talking to, had a skill set from what we built to another level, another plateau that required some financial interjection of capital and also some financial expertise that we didn't really possess and we didn't have.
So it's a nice dovetail, Steve, into number 3 of developing this liquidity mindset. And when you have the right liquidity mindset, really anything is possible. And so point number 3, and we've talked about this before in other episodes of the Sell My Business podcast, and it's absolutely worth mentioning again, because most business owners, the only thing that they care about with their future buyer is if the check is going to clear the bank. That's all they care about. But the mindset is that your future buyer knows everything about you. What do you know about your future buyer? So on that question, Steve, what do you have to say about the mindset of knowing everything about your future buyer?
There again, what's in it for them? What is going to make this successful for them? And you can't answer that question until you identify the buyer. And we go through great lengths in our learning experience to help you process that question. You may have different kinds of buyers, or you may have one kind of buyer. In big, broad categories, you might have a strategic buyer. That means someone who is going to look at your business and incorporate it into what they're doing. And many times they pay a premium for that. You have some type of financial buyer, private equity, and they look at these experiences that you're bringing them as short term. Maybe it's 3 or 4 or 5 years, and they want to flip this, or they want to roll you up into other financial purchases and then liquidate and sell that themselves. And then you get this kind of mix, which is a family office, which is becoming more and more popular. And they're looking at this for the long term. They want to buy an entity that's coming in, and they're going to just be with that company forever and ever, and is providing them with a return every year. So you can imagine each one of these buyers has different things. Some want a management team, some may not. Some are going to have to convince other investors or banks or lending institutions. So you provide them with the data and the story to help them be successful in getting that capital. So it can be very complex in some way, but when you sit down and identify who you're going after, then you'll have a plan and you'll know how to communicate that plan to them.
And what's interesting is when you begin the process of knowing everything you can about your future buyer, one of the mindset changes that happens, and it's a good thing to happen, most business owners, they take the mindset of, I'm just going to go with whoever offers me the highest price. That's it, and that's done, and that's going to be the best buyer. Is it? Maybe it isn't. Because what we've seen time and time again, and everyone, sure, you've heard of these horror stories where a company was sold and years later, the original business owner buys it back for pennies on the dollar because it was just wrong with the new buyer from day one, and it just decimated and destroyed the business. You don't want that happening. You don't want to do that to your employees who believed in you. You don't want to do that to your customers who believed in you. And one of the things that we focus a lot on in the Deep Wealth experience is how do you determine the best cultural fit for your future buyer or investor to your liquidity event? And part of the way of doing that is having the right mindset of knowing what is it that your buyer wants to achieve, what is it that you want to achieve and that your business needs to be achieving. And they're not all necessarily going to be a match and on the same page. So when you have the right mindset of knowing how to speak to the buyer, or as we like to say in the Deep Wealth experience, you're tuning into our favorite radio station, WIFM, the What's in It for Me radio station. But the What's in It for Me isn't you, it's the What's in It for Me for your buyer. What are they looking for? What problem are you solving for them that's a painful problem? It's going to make your business one that they want to buy and one that they're going to put a high value on, of something that's going to be helping them get from point A to point B. So knowing your buyer and the different kinds of buyers and what they're looking for is something that's paramount. And Steve, how many times have you heard a business owner say, oh, I know it's going to be this kind of buyer that's buying my company? How many times have we heard that?
Yeah, that's a common thing. You hear that particularly with the people who are saying, oh, I got my offer. It was someone in the business that I'm in, and they just came to my door and knocked, and that's probably who I'm going to sell my business to. That's nothing you want to do. That is no way to maximize your value of your company.
And so really, it's not buyer beware, but it's seller beware in terms of really knowing who your buyer is and what that buyer is all about and the cultural alignment. And I know in the Deep Wealth experience, we call it the Richter reverse RFP process, which for most investment bankers, the first time they see this, it just shocks them. But it helps you go through the process to really see what your potential buyers are made of. And is it just talk, or is there actual substance to what they're saying? And it's only 18 questions, but wow, those are powerhouse questions that help you separate the quality buyers who have the cultural fit from the ones that don't. Now, Steve, we've mentioned the Deep Wealth experience a few times here. And for those that are new to the community and listening, what is the Deep Wealth experience? And in particular, something that we call the Deep Wealth 9-step roadmap. What's that all about? What are we doing here?
After we went through our process, and after talking to many other people who were asking us to consult with them, we were able to distill all the things that we learned from our experience and what we found with working with other business owners to create a 9-step process that, if we follow those 9 steps, if you as a business owner follow those, you're going to take away almost all the uncertainty from that process. And each one of these 9 steps is important, and each one builds on the other. And it's foundation, it's preparation, and then it's ultimately leading you to maximum value for your company and what we like to call deep wealth.
See, at the time when we were creating this, we didn't really look at it in that way. We were creating it because we had become our own chief exit advisor for ourselves. Any favorites that you have of the 9 steps that we developed?
They're all very important. At the time, we didn't have these phrases, but this is what we did. How to find the skeletons in your closet and discover those Rembrandts in your attic. Now, we did that. Now, what that means is take time to find those issues that are in your company that either you can correct or you bring out right away and you explain. And so it's something that it doesn't have to surprise anyone. And hopefully you've corrected them. At the same time, we touched on it, but these Rembrandts are those areas that are beautiful works of art that may not be obvious to you at first, but to the buyer, they're treasures. And so how to find those, then how to communicate those can make tremendous advances in the value of your company to the eyes of the partner or to the buyer.
I know when we speak with business owners and we explain to them the 9 steps and we share with them that in a 90-day period of time, you master the art of preparation and that you walk out with the certainty that you'll capture the maximum value in your liquidity event. But if you don't know what's involved with that, one of the questions that I'd be asking, and I'm going to ask you, and if you could share your thoughts for the benefit of our community, is your company ready after 90 days that you can sell it tomorrow after that 90-day period? Or what are we talking about here? So you go through the Deep Wealth experience. It's a 90-day period of time. You're with other business owners from across the country and you're learning with them. You're learning with us. We're all learning together the 9-step process. What are you left with and why is that important?
The quick answer is no, your business is not ready to sell on the 91st day because some of the things that you're going to need to do may take a year, and longer. You may be building a management team out. Maybe there are tax strategies you need to put into place. Maybe there's some skeletons you need to clean up. But what you will have after 90 days is a clear roadmap. You're going to have a plan in these 9 silos, these sections that we're going to go through. And we're going to give you time in these 90 days to begin to develop those out. So you're going to get the concept, then you're going to have a week to work on that concept with your coach, with the benefit of your peers are going to be with you in this experience. So you're going to complete every step of the way through these 9 steps. So at the end, you're going to have some holes you're going to need to fill in. You're also going to have some work. You're going to have to hire your whole exit team, and we're going to help you understand how to do that. But you're going to have the plan, and this is our goal. This is pre-exit, and it's a unique thing. We didn't really realize what we're offering. I don't know if there's anyone who really does that. There are people who are consultants, I know, but this is so much more than that. So we're not there to sell your business. We're really there to help you prepare for that sell and get your team ready.
This is a system built by business owners, for business owners, focusing exclusively on preparation that helps you capture the maximum value for your business in your liquidity event. So back to the winning liquidity event mindset, let's talk about number 4. And Steve, for number 4, I know for both of us, what we like to say is A winning liquidity event mindset, it not only protects you, but it protects the value of your business or your enterprise value. So what would you have to say about that?
Your enterprise value, and you touched on it a little bit, Jeffrey, it's not this magic number that someone has come up with that's going to be determined by a spreadsheet. This number is going to be created when someone is willing to pay for your business or invest in your business based on all your communication. And we've said this before, and we see it every day when we talk to different investment bankers. The same company can have an enterprise value that is 2, 3, 4 times greater or less based on the communication and based on the needs of these companies. So when you have the right mindset, it's going to protect you to maximize that enterprise value because you're communicating the information and you're communicating in the ways that buyer needs to hear to give you that maximum value.
You're absolutely right, Steve. The first step of our 9-step process is what we call the big picture. If you want to win at anything, you have to know the rules of the game. And so for the first step, it's understanding what are the rules for a liquidity event? What are the rules in mergers and acquisitions? So when you know what the rules in the game are, that's step number 1. You now can build a mindset to help support you on how you're going to win at this game. And in the world of mergers and acquisitions, and again, we didn't make up these rules. We are simply sharing with you what they are. More times than not, it's a zero-sum game. So either the buyer wins or you win. Not always the case, but most of the time that seems to be the case. And so from your buyer's perspective, they want you to make not a mistake, not 2 mistakes. They want you to make many mistakes, not fatal mistakes that's going to kill the deal, but enough mistakes that it gives them a justification to adjust the value of your business and not in the direction that you want. It's in their favor is to lower the value of the business based on the mistakes that you're making. So when you have a winning mindset, you're now understanding what you need to do to protect the value of your business, how you should respond, how you should be thinking, what you should be doing within the liquidity event process itself, how you should be interacting with the buyer and the buyer's team, because your buyer will try every trick in the book. And Steve, we saw this with ourselves. We see this when we speak to buyers who come onto the podcast. We hear this when we speak to the investment bankers. Things like flattery or ego are 2 of the things that your buyer is going to use to box you in and have you make commitments that you possibly can't live up to. Steve, what are some of your thoughts on that? Any insights with that?
Think about this. This is probably your first liquidity event, your first sale, and think about your buyer and their team. This could be their 100th or their 1,000th. They have been down this path. They know what to do, how to manipulate, how to find weaknesses and exploit those weaknesses. So this is where you've got to have the right mindset. And this is where you've got to go through these steps and prepare yourself so that you can handle that kind of potential onslaught from the buyer.
So it's just incredible when you have the right mindset. And when you think about it, the right mindset or the wrong mindset, it takes no more time or effort or money, but it makes all the difference when you're on the right side. So when you have the right mindset and you're going through what we've been speaking about, and particularly for strategy number 4, the right liquidity event mindset protects you and the value of your business or your enterprise value. So Steve, as we begin to wrap things up here, what's strategy number 5 of the liquidity event mindset?
The 5th point is a winning liquidity event mindset has you dominate and win through preparation. And the key word there is preparation. Jeffrey, you can expound on this, but we know in talking to so many business owners, again, to repeat what I just said, this is the first time they've done this. They've been very successful in running their business, but now they're going to have to sell their business. And they can't do both of these at the same time. So it takes some preparation to make this happen. Many of them have been somewhat negligent in maybe delegating responsibilities just because they love doing it. And it's in this preparation where they have to see where they can step back. And what's always amazing about this too, if you go through all these 9 steps that we talk about in the Deep Wealth experience, and you never have a liquidity event, at the end of the day, you're going to have a much more successful and profitable company. Now, you will have some event sometime in the future, whether it's an inheritance or it's sold. The day will come where something has to happen to your company. But all these steps of preparation make you a better company, regardless of the actual event and when that event happens.
It's amazing. And I don't think a day goes by, Steve, where we're speaking to business owners and they more or less say this. I've been running my company for 2, 3, 4 decades, and it's successful. I've done well with it. There's no one in my family who's really interested in taking things over. And I feel tired. I feel burnt out. I just want my competition to come, give me the right number, and I will call it a day. And listen, on paper, it sounds alluring. You're not spending money. You're not spending time. You're not having to do anything. You're already busy enough with your business. And you're saying, I don't have the time. Where am I going to find that? And all my money is spoken for. I'd rather put that towards growing the business. And this is what your future buyer wants you to do and hopes you're going to do. And that's why to this day, unsolicited offers should be illegal. They should be banned, because I've never yet met a business owner who walked away better off for doing an unsolicited offer as opposed to taking the company, putting it through the right process and preparation, holding an auction, and then at that point looking to sell the business or have some kind of liquidity event. So when you change your mindset and the mindset becomes, I'm going to do the preparation, whatever time and money that I put into the preparation, it's a rounding error. It's not even going to count relative to the increase in your enterprise value. Preparation is at the heart of everything. As we like to say here at Deep Wealth and in the Deep Wealth experience, the number that you get for your business at the liquidity event, it's like looking in the rearview mirror based on the depth and the quality of the preparation that you've done. So right from the start, if you get your head wrapped around doing the preparation, putting the time, the effort, the money into getting the preparation done, as Steve said, you'll have a more profitable company, a stronger company. And again, you choose. You keep this thriving, profitable company forever. You sell it tomorrow. They're both incredible outcomes, and you can't lose either way. Steve, remember that conversation we had just the other day, actually? And we were told that the one business owner was told that his company just wasn't prepared enough. They were so disorganized that they should just simply shut down, that no one would want to buy the company. And what happened from there? Do you remember that?
And the advisors who told them this were very astute. They're financial people. And they said, no, I think you should just close it down the best you can. This owner went through a process, and he ends up selling his company somewhere around $17 to $20 million. That is money in his pocket that otherwise was gone. He not only if he shut the business down, I'm sure it would have cost him money to shut the business down. The thing about preparation, we have had advisors and investment bankers come to us and say, listen, once our client has gone through the Deep Wealth experience, you have made our job so much easier. And it's not like we're just trying to save time, but you've created the value that we can now take and build on to give this owner much more value. So the small amount of money that is invested in doing this preparation, it's almost comical compared to just, I don't even know the percentage, thousands % fold off that investment for doing this preparation.
If you remember nothing else from this episode and this podcast, it's preparation should be at the heart of everything that you do, and it's time and money well spent. So Steve, as we begin to wrap things up now, why don't we do a quick recap and go over those 5 winning mindsets for a liquidity event. So point number 1 was what, Steve?
Create a winning liquidity event mindset by expecting the unexpected. That's where you are prepared for those things you have no control over. And number 2?
Number 2 is how you need to communicate your way to success by building, crafting, and creating the right communication mindset. And number 3, Steve?
Number 3 is your future buyer knows everything about you. What do you know about your future buyer?
And as we roll into number 4, it's how a winning liquidity event mindset is going to protect you and your enterprise value. And as we wrap it up with number 5,
Number 5, a winning liquidity event mindset has you dominate and win through preparation.
The 3 Ps. So there you go. We want to thank you so much. We know your time is valuable. You could be doing other things and you're taking time out of your busy day to listen to the Sell My Business podcast. And really, we started this podcast as a way for us to pay it forward, to help other business owners to profit, to not make the mistakes that most make, and to really begin the education process of what do you need to do to get ready for your own liquidity event. And so for that, we thank you. We are eternally grateful for your continued support. If you want to help, it would be wonderful for you to go to Apple Podcasts and put a comment in and share with others what we're doing and why you find this podcast helpful. And we'll be reading those comments and taking a look for them. And let's get the word out there for other business owners. Collectively, we can all level the playing field and make sure that as business owners, we're able to collect the value that we've earned in creating our businesses. So on that note, we're going to wish you all a terrific day, and please stay healthy and safe. Thank you.